Welcome to Halon Tax. In this brief tutorial, I'm going to take you through some of the screens in order to set up a tax return for Halon to prepare tax returns and tax work for you. The first screen that you're going to come to after you close this video is the Connect Halon to your QuickBooks online account screen. And this is pretty simple. You're just going to click this Connect to QuickBooks button and you're going to log into your QuickBooks account. And if you're an accountant, you can use your accountant's login, your wholesale login. If you are a small business owner, you can use the login that you log into QuickBooks Online with. I'm going to log in here real quick. And from there, you can select what account you want to connect QuickBooks to. So I'm going to use our wholesale account at Halon Tax, and I'll find someone real quick. How about this one here? And I'll click Confirm. Now, QuickBooks is going to ask you if you want to authorize Halon Tax to connect this data, and just know that Halon does not write anything to a QuickBooks Online account. It only looks at the financial statements. It's kind of a one-way sync from QuickBooks to Halon. We'll connect here, and once Halon has read all of the information in the QuickBooks Online files, especially for this current year, it's going to take a look at fixed assets and several other things. It is going to open up the dialog so that you can start preparing your tax return. And here we are. The first screen is the contact information screen, and this is where you're going to enter the business name and the street address, whether it's an S corporation or a partnership, the employer identification number, and the telephone number. Let me do that now. And here we go. I have filled in some of the information for Dave's widgets, the address, the EIN number, and the telephone number. And I've also selected that as an S corporation. If it was a partnership, you could select this here, and we'll hit Save and Continue. As you can see, Halon starts to analyze the company and decide if there's any warnings or issues that it needs to address at this point. Since it doesn't, you can see it's got a QuickBooks connection here. It calms back down and asks you for more information. This is what we call the demographic screen. Let me fill that in too. Okay, so I've finished the business demographic screen. There's several questions down here at the bottom of some of the information that Halon needs to prepare your tax return or see if there's any subsidiaries, especially with this question of own any partnerships or S corps. If this S corporation owned any partnerships or other S corporations, we need to click yes here, and there's a few more screens that we have to fill out, but let's hit Save and Continue. Now, because our tax return, this is not the first year for the tax return, there's a section of the prior year tax return called the Schedule M2 that we need this bottom number on, and I have that. I'm going to enter that now. That is all we need. You can see this in a picture. It's usually on the last page of the tax return down at the bottom of the 1120S. This Schedule M2 is asking for the balance at the end of last year. And then we'll click Save and Continue. Now I get to enter the shareholder information. This only has one shareholder, so this should be quick. And I've filled out the information for Dave, his address, his social security number goes right here, the percentage ownership, he owns all of it, so it's 100, and then what his salary was for this last year, his officer's compensation was $32,000, and Dave is a U.S. citizen. If you needed to add another shareholder, you can click this and a new screen pops up, but let's hit Save and Continue. QuickBooks Online then begins syncing the fixed asset information to Halon, and that's where we start the federal tax portion of the interview. In this case, this user does not have any fixed assets, but if they did, Halon would populate them here, and it would ask you a couple of questions. What kind of asset is it? What was the prior year depreciation? We have some tutorials about that if you want to click on this link here on exactly how to do that. This one doesn't have any fixed assets, so we're just going to save and continue. Because it has no fixed assets, it's also not going to have a depreciation summary, so that is also blank. We get to skip this part, and then we'll hit Save and Continue here, and that's it. You have set up your client for your pre-tax season work, and you can move on to your next client. That's it. A couple of things to point out. If you want to chat with support, you can click this button here and or this button down here on the right, and our support folks will pop up and help you. And if you want to go to the self-help portal where we have several frequently asked questions and lots of videos about how to use Halon, you can click here as well. Thank you for bearing with me during this quick little instructional video. I would close it now and you can get started. All the best, and thanks for using Halon Tax.